So welcome everyone from all over the place to an all new video. In this video we're doing a movie review of a new film that just came out on July 12th and is a horror thriller suspense film that, has a lot of great hype about it, and we're going to get right into talking about it. So we're going to get right into it. Before we do that, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss this video or any of the other videos I put up. As always, people, if you enjoy my content here on YouTube, definitely check out my other social media platforms such as X, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Patreon, Rumble, Tumblr. Pretty much post all those regularly, so definitely check them out. As always, people, let's get right into this. So welcome one and all to an all new video. So like I was saying before, we'll be doing a movie review of a new film that just came out on July 12th. And it is a horror thriller suspense film that has a huge hype and had really great marketing called Longlegs. Yeah, Longlegs. Yeah. So this highly anticipated film, I finally saw it last weekend, and is a very interesting film because it's not horrible, it's not the greatest, it's kind of in the middle for me. It had a lot of interesting points, but at the same time, there was so much of it that just I found very boring and not anything very entertaining. And the other thing about the film was that I feel like some of the acting just wasn't, necessary to really tell the story, and I just didn't think it played really well to the plot of the film. Now, this film happens to be directed none other by a gentleman that is the son of the late great Anthony Perkins, called Osgood Perkins. Yeah, Osgood Perkins. Yeah, Osgood. Yeah. So Osgood Perkins, like I said, is the son of the late great Anthony Perkins, who you might recognize from, of course, the 4 Psycho films. You might recognize him from a few other things over the years. But he was a really great actor, and his son, I feel really went into the horror genre like his dad did, and really has stuck in that field to make his types of films and stuff like that. And Osgood has a very interesting, take on what he wants to bring to life. He is very cerebral, and, I feel like a lot of his films is very much like the norm of how horror films have come, where they're very thought-provoking, not as, bloody and gory and, sex and violence and stuff like that, like, the 80s and 90s and early 2000s were like. It's very, that elevated horror. And that's what I feel this film ended up being like. And, at that type of level, I really have never been a huge fan of elevated horror. And so I think Osgood Perkins is very much into that type of genre of filmmaking. And so most of his films are kind of falling flat for me and aren't the greatest. But I think Osgood has a really great eye for bringing things to life. And I think he did that with Longlegs. I really enjoyed some of the different schematics that he used in the film. The look, the feel, having it the, mid-90s I thought was an interesting take, which I did not realize it was supposed to be. Him going back to the 70s, I thought was really, aesthetically awesome. And, I think he definitely, decided to go with a year, that really was before, there was so much more technology, like the internet and cell phones and all that kind of stuff. And I think that is kind of in Osgood's kind of genre of what he likes to do when he makes his films. Now, with Longlegs, I think that he had a great idea, and I really enjoyed what he brought to life with it. But like I said, there was a few things I just found not making the film very enticing, very entertaining, and the greatest it could have been. And I think that all the hype, around what Osgood was bringing to us, it just was overhyped as well. And I don't think Osgood is as great of a director as they make him out to be, but he isn't horrible. He has some, like I said, some good eye for different things, like I mentioned, and he is a decent, director that can bring some things that are entertaining. And when it comes to Longlegs as well with Osgood, I think that the soundtrack was really done well. So overall, I think Osgood did a decent job with the film. Now, if you haven't seen anything else Osgood has directed, you should definitely check out a film. See for yourself what you think of this film. I absolutely hated the film, but I think it's one of the best examples of just what Osgood Perkins as a director is like. And that, of course, is the film from 2020 called Gretel and Hansel. Yeah, Gretel and Hansel. Yeah. I absolutely walked out of this movie thinking, what the hell did I just watch? Kind of how I felt when I walked out of Longlegs. Kind of the same, but not nowhere as strong reaction as it was for Gretel and Hansel. Whereas Gretel and Hansel, I absolutely hated. Longlegs, it was, like I said, I'm in between. I don't hate it, I don't love it, but I'm not like, it's in the middle for me. And Gretel and Hansel was a very, like, another good marketing ploy when they put out the trailer. It looked very interesting. It looked, a very different take on the Gretel and Hansel story and all this kind of stuff. But after actually seeing the film, it was the most boringest fucking thing I've ever seen. And I was just like, what the hell was going on here? And that's kind of like when I was going into Longlegs. I was afraid that we're going to get that same Gretel and Hansel feel, but thankfully it wasn't as boring as Gretel and Hansel was. And so, Gretel and Hansel is definitely a great example of what you're going to get if you haven't seen Longlegs. What you're going to get in Longlegs, but a little better in Longlegs. If you haven't seen Gretel and Hansel, definitely check it out. See what you think about Osgood Perkins directing. He did an okay, job for what it was. But overall, I think that he did a decent job with Longlegs. I think he did better than he did with Gretel and Hansel. And I did enjoy some parts, and I thought that he had a great cast that, are great in their own right. Might not be the greatest for this film, but definitely are great in their own right. But overall, I think that he did an okay job that led to a mediocre film. So this film has a very small cast. But really great actors and actresses that are really amazing at what they bring to the film, who they are, and what they are about. And all these actors and actresses, I think, work really well in pretty much anything they're always in. And definitely some of them were better for this film than others. But overall, I think that they all did a okay job that made this film somewhat entertaining. Now, to start us off is no other than Longlegs himself, Mr. Nicolas Cage! Oh yeah, Nicolas Cage! Woo! Nicolas Cage! Yeah! Absolutely love Nicolas Cage. He's so awesome. Such a great guy. Always enjoy watching anything he's ever in, from, Face Off to, Con Air, The Rock, even some of his other obscure films that he's done, Knowing, and stuff like that. He is just always really awesome, and I always enjoy what he brings to his films, what he brings to his acting, and how he's always 100% full in and gives us these great characterizations. And once again, he brought that into this film. Now, even though his role in the film wasn't super huge, like we did see him a little bit throughout the film, we had some good moments, but it wasn't anywhere as much time as Michael Monroe got. So I was a little upset by that. I was worried. I was wanting more of his character in the film, and so that kind of made the film not as entertaining, I felt, as well. And where I mentioned before, kind of where it was lacking in how the acting was involved, and I feel that was one of the parts. Like, I don't feel Nicolas Cage got enough screen time. And, I thought he was fantastic as Longlegs. He did a great job. He gave us this, of course, Nicolas Cage isms. He gave us a great, different persona. The outfit they made him wear and the prosthetics and stuff was absolutely hilarious. I couldn't tell if he was a man or a woman. They kept referring to him as a man, but with that prosthetic and stuff like that, you just couldn't really tell what the hell he was. And he definitely was just, very odd and weird looking, which is, typical for, a witch occultist type of character that is a serial killer. But at the same time, usually you see serial killers, you think of, middle-aged white guys that are usually the serial killers, and, once in a while you get a female that is a serial killer as well. So it's kind of like, I think Osgood had some interesting takes on what he wanted to bring to life as Longlegs, and I feel he put a mixture of several different serial killers into one and gave him like this weird, funky look, that has to do with his Satanism and stuff like that. So I definitely think that Nicolas Cage took on that persona so well and gave us a really interesting take that I think was the most enjoyable part about the film. And I just think Nicolas Cage is so great because you can give him anything. It could be a crappy direct-to-DVD type of film, direct-to-streaming, whatever, and he'll take that part and make it the greatest you could think of. And that's what he did with this character, and I just really enjoyed him. And I thought that he just was probably, like I said, my favorite part of the film. And I think that no other could have done better than what he brought to playing the character of Longlegs for this film. And I think that, he really, brought to life the whole thought process of, a person who is, somehow he's a Satanist and a witch or, warlock mixture, and he's like a part of a cult that is his own cult, and he has these abilities, almost on the, magical side that this film brings. And I loved what, Nicolas Cage did with that and how he used it to his advantage and made the character very odd and very out there. And he just did a great job with it. If you haven't seen Nicolas Cage anything recently, you should definitely check him out on Longlegs. But if you haven't seen Nicolas Cage recently, you should definitely check him out in a great film that I absolutely love of his that just came out a couple years ago and is a great other horror comedy, dark comedy film called Renfield. Yeah, Renfield. Yeah, he plays Dracula, and he was absolutely freaking phenomenal in this film, and absolutely loved him in Renfield. He was so awesome, and just really showed his great acting talent and his great persona of like being a chameleon and turning into anybody. And I loved his take on Dracula. I loved how he brought it to life and how he was different than most Draculas have been. And I enjoyed his interactions with, Nicholas Hoult and stuff like that. And I think they worked really well together. And I just enjoyed everything that he brought to that character. If you haven't seen Renfield for Nicolas Cage performance, definitely check it out. It is absolutely phenomenal. But overall, I think that Nicolas Cage was fantastic in Longlegs, and I enjoyed him as the character. And I think that he brought a really interesting take on this great serial killer that they created in this film. If you haven't seen Nicolas Cage recently, like I said, definitely go check him out on Longlegs now. He was fantastic. So that brings me to the next person I'd like to talk about this film. And that, of course, is kind of the main hero of the film, the heroiness, the heroine, Miss Maika Monroe. Maika Monroe, woo! Maika Monroe, yeah! So Maika Monroe, you might recognize from the film It Follows and a few other things over the years. And she is a okay actress. I don't think she's anything fantastic, but I do think that she has some great moments and is entertaining to watch, and sometimes does bring a really interesting characterization to her characters. And when it comes to Longlegs, I just was not down for her character at all. I found the whole making her kind of odd and off, just very unheroine-like. I just found it was stupid. And I just didn't care for it, and I didn't like how she was acting throughout the whole film. I think it took away from who she is. She's supposed to be this great FBI agent that's clairvoyant. And you think you would want to make that character a very strong character, very interesting character that could kick butt. And I just didn't feel like that with Maika's performance in the film, and making her like she was almost autistic, I just thought was kind of weird. And even though you find out things down the road of kind of her mental state because of Longlegs, you definitely still don't, or kind of I personally still was I still don't think it helped it at all. If she was under a spell, I still think that she would have been a little more normalish. And whereas, just like her mother in the film, who is kind of under a spell a little bit, to a point, she still was kind of a little more normalish and not as kind of autistic-like. And you definitely saw that a little bit, but I think Maika just did such a weird job portraying the character and being this really weird character, and I just didn't think it played out very well for her, and it just didn't, maybe it didn't get the notes across that it would have made it more entertaining and more enjoyable. But overall, Maika did an okay job, and I think that she delivered on what she needed to. and made her character, gave the story arc throughout the film. Now, if you haven't seen Micah in anything, definitely something to check her out in, which I thought is my favorite of hers to date that I enjoyed her in. And that was a great sequel film that came out in 2016 called Independence Day Resurgence. Yeah! Independence Day Resurgence. Yeah! This film is fantastic. I enjoy it very much. I thought it was really done well. 20 years later, I think that, it definitely had upgraded from 1996 and 2016, and we had this interesting take, and I just really enjoyed Mike in the film as kind of the main, character that's the heroiness, and I enjoyed that she's supposed to be the daughter of Bill Pullman's character. And I think that she did a good job of portraying that character. I really enjoyed it. I thought she did a great job. And I think it's one of the few movies I've seen her where I felt she seemed really normal versus her other characters that were kind of out there and off, or just, not a very, straightforward characterization that was, just like an average, everyday person. And that's what I felt with this character. I felt like she was a strong, heroiness, and that she was a kick butt and she could do it. And she definitely was really fantastic in the film. I thought she worked really well with everyone, and I think that she just did a really great job of the film, giving us a really great, kind of interesting take on an adult version of the former president's daughter in this world. And I just thought Micah did a great job and gave us a really fantastic performance. If you haven't seen Micah anything, definitely check out Independence Day Resurgence. She did a really great job. But overall, I thought she was okay in Longlegs. Not her best performance, not my favorite. Like I said, the characterization I just didn't think was that great. But overall, I think Micah did an okay job, and like I said, got the character across to her, her story arc. If you haven't seen Micah anything recently, go check her out in Longlegs now. She did an okay job. So some great honorable mentions that were awesome in this film are Blair Underwood and Alicia Witt. Both of them star in the film as well. Blair Underwood plays, of course, an FBI agent working with Micah Monroe. Alicia Witt plays Micah Monroe's mother, who you'll find out who she is throughout the film, kind of what happens to do, but she is Micah Monroe's mom in the film that seems to also be a little off as well. And I think both of them did a great job. It was great to see Blair Underwood. I hadn't seen him in anything in forever, and it was just great to see him act again because he is such a great actor. He always plays such great characters, and I really enjoyed him in this film, and I thought he was one of the favorite parts of this film as well, along with Nicolas Cage. And I thought Alicia Witt did a great job too as well. I thought she was decent. It was interesting seeing her because I hadn't seen her in a really long time too, and it was great to see her kind of play a villainous character that was different than what I'm used to seeing of hers, and I thought she did an okay job too as well. But those are two great honorable mentions that were awesome in the film that were really great. Now, what is Longlegs about? Basically, the premise of the story is the FBI character that Micah Monroe plays has just been given a case because she is found to be clairvoyant to help them solve this 30-year-old or 20-year-old serial killer case that hasn't been solved, including this character named Longlegs. And her partner are trying to figure out just who this person is and to try to solve this case, and kind of how it all intermixed with them, and how they stop the serial killer, bring him to justice, and kind of deal with their life's issues as well. Like I said, very interesting take, very interesting thought process. Like I said, Osgood has a very interesting, take on how he brings his movies to life. Like I said, I'm in the middle with this film. I don't hate it. I don't love it. But at the same time, I think it has some great parts, some interesting parts. And I think that, Nicolas Cage and Blair Underwood's roles were really fantastic in the film. Everyone else was kind of, was decent and okay. But overall, I think the film itself is, like I said, middle ground. I have to give it a 5/10 Golden Movie Boxes up. That's how I feel about it. Like I said, I'm in the middle about it. Not, like I said, not horrible, but not the greatest. Definitely worth a watch to see what you think, if you enjoy it. I'm definitely sure there will be people that'll love it. I'm sure there are people that'll hate it, and there will people be like me that are in middle ground where they don't love it or hate it. But overall, I think Longlegs was a definitely interesting film to go see. Definitely worth a watch, like I said. If you have not seen it, highly recommend go check it out in theaters now. See what you think. See if you enjoy it. So that's it for this movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Also, thank you for being a subscriber. And if this is your first time here, or you have been here before, don't forget to check out any old or new videos you haven't seen mine yet. As always, people, a huge shout out to my followers. You guys are rocking it, new and old. Thank you so much for being a part of cyberneticshark's channel. And always, people, if you want to show more support for the channel, support the channel more. Check out my awesome Patreon where you get all kinds of extra accoutrement you don't get here on my YouTube channel. As always, catch you in the next one.